Hello viewers, welcome to K Diagnostics. Dio here. Today I'm going to show you how to test an alternator. An alternator is a device that charges the battery in your car. Some of the symptoms that you might experience when your alternator is faulty is your battery light on the dash might come on while you're driving, or the interior and exterior lights might be flickering as you're driving as well. And that can indicate either the alternator is completely bad or is about to go bad. So if you see these symptoms, your problem is most likely the alternator. So we're gonna use a multimeter today to do this test that will confirm to us if the alternator is the problem. The alternator on this car is a good working alternator. It doesn't have any issue, but these procedures I'm about to do are use across the board. You can do this pretty much in any car. Okay, the first test we're gonna test our battery. We have to make sure our battery is charged. Before we take any measurements at the battery, we have to make sure our battery terminals are clean, and as you guys can see, our battery terminals look just fine. You don't want to see any corrosion or any dirt on the battery terminals, okay? Because that can prevent current from flowing, which is gonna prevent the alternator from charging the battery. So I'm gonna set our multimeter on the voltage scale, and the voltage we're gonna be measuring today is gonna be between 12.6 to 14.5 volt, and I'm actually on the 20 volt mark here, so which is good. I'm gonna connect my multimeter's black lead to battery negative, and then my red lead to battery positive. So a good battery should read 12.6 volt. As you guys can see, we're reading 12.68 volt, so which is good. Okay, now the next step is we're gonna do a test here on the alternator. We have to make sure that battery voltage is making it to the alternator, because for the alternator to function, we need battery voltage. Okay, so now I'm gonna move this red lead to this terminal here on top of the alternator. This is called a B plus terminal, and as you guys can see, there is a red cable here that supplies battery voltage to the alternator. So as I connect this red lead to the B positive terminal of the alternator, we should read battery voltage on our multimeter. As you guys can see, we're reading 12.69 volt. So this tells me that battery voltage is making it to the alternator. So now the next step is going to be checking the alternator belt. You have to make sure that the alternator belt is tight. Okay, a loose alternator belt will prevent an alternator from working properly. And you want to look around the alternator also to make sure there's no corrosion between the alternator casing and the block itself, because the alternator is grounded by the engine block. So our alternator here looks good, everything looks good. So now the next test we're gonna do, we're gonna start the truck and do some testing while the truck is running. So I'm gonna go inside the truck and start it. As you guys can see now, with my multimeter connected to the battery and the truck running, we are reading 14.03 volts, which is good, because when you have a good working alternator, the voltage should be between 13.5 to 14.5 volts with the engine idling. There is a voltage regulator inside the alternator that regulates this voltage. The voltage shouldn't be too high, because if it's too high, that's not good for your engine. If the voltage is too low, the battery won't be able to get charged. Okay, so this is a good voltage for a good working alternator. So now the next step we're gonna do, we're gonna perform a voltage drop test, because if you have a wire that's corroded, that's gonna prevent current from flowing, right? And the alternator is not gonna be able to work or charge the battery. So we're gonna do a voltage drop test on the positive circuit. So the circuit that supplies battery voltage to the alternator. So it's this red cable here that goes from the battery positive terminal to the alternator B plus terminal. So what I'm gonna do, you do a voltage drop by connecting the multimeter in series with the circuit you are testing. So with my red lead connected to battery positive, I'm gonna simply move the black lead to my battery terminal on the alternator, my B positive terminal. And guys, the rule of thumb here is we have to read anything below 0.5 volts is good. Okay, so our reading should not be over half a volt. So as you guys can see, I mean the minus sign there because I have my test leads backwards, but that doesn't interfere or it doesn't cause anything. As you guys can see, we're reading 0.05 volts, okay? So which is roughly 400 millivolts. So this is good. This tells me that there is an excessive resistance between the battery and the alternator on the positive side of the circuit, okay? So now let's do the same thing on the ground side of the alternator. So the alternator is grounded through the case. So now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna move our black lead to the alternator case, and then I'm gonna move my red lead to battery negative. And as you guys can see, we're reading 0.05. Okay, so this is good. Again, on the ground side, the rule of thumb is we don't want a voltage over 300 millivolts, so 0.3 volts. So this is really good right here. And again, this truck is running fine. It doesn't have any issue with the charging system. The next step is gonna be loading the alternator. We're gonna turn all our accessories on. So all the lights in the car, you know, interior light, exterior lights, the AC is gonna get turned on. The blower motor to full speed. And then as we turn everything, we're gonna see what kind of voltage the alternator is gonna be putting out to maintain the charge on the battery. So now I'm gonna move my black lead back to the battery. Okay, so back to battery negative, and then let's turn everything on and see. Here guys, the rule of thumb is you don't want the voltage dropping below 13.5 volt. So with everything, with the alternator loaded, the voltage should stay between 13.5 to 14.5 volts. So right now this is good, but when we load the alternator, the other step is increasing the engine's RPM to 2000. So let's go inside the truck, turn everything on and increase the engine's RPM, but our voltage shouldn't drop below 13.5 volts. So let's do that. All right, so I got the accessories and the lights on. And as you guys can see, we are reading 13.98 volt. And this is at idle speed. You're supposed to load the alternator and increase the engine RPM to 2000. So this is good already. This tells me that the alternator is good, because with the alternator loaded at engine idle, it is reading 13.98 volt. So now I'm gonna increase the engine RPM to 2000 and see what kind of reading we're gonna get. So as you guys could see, with the engine RPM increased to 2000, we were reading around 14.2 volts. So this is good, guys. This is a good alternator. Okay, so I hope you like this video. If you do, give it a thumbs up. If you don't, give it a thumb down. But if you do, you gotta tell me why, so we can make better videos in the future. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, K Diagnostics. While you're down there, ring the bell so you can get notified every time I upload a new video. So, thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.